Today on the newscast, did Russia just threaten Israel and the United States over Iran? Find out next. Hey folks, Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman Newscast. The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in Israel this week, meeting with top Israeli officials, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. It is Blinken's first visit to Israel since Netanyahu took office as Prime Minister once again last month, and his visit comes on the heels of a similar visit by CIA Director William Burns to Israel over the weekend. Now, some are pointing to these visits, the timing of these visits by top U.S. officials to Israel, because they come amid some major activity reportedly carried out by Israel against Iran. Now, we reported on yesterday's newscast about that drone strike that hit an Iranian weapons depot inside the city of Isfahan in central Iran. Iran is none too happy about that. Also, Israel reportedly striking an Iranian weapons convoy. Some 25 trucks were traveling near the Iraq-Syria border, presumably transiting weapons on to Syria and Lebanon to go into the hands of Iran's proxy Hezbollah. Well, Israel reportedly struck at least 6 of the trucks in that large convoy, and now you have Blinken in Israel. You had the largest military drill ever between Israel and the U.S., I should say with Israel and the U.S. joining forces in a joint military drill in Israel last week, air, land, and sea. We want to focus today in talking about those strikes over the weekend. And by the way, if you missed yesterday's newscast where we really broke down those reported Israeli strikes against Iran over the weekend, including inside Iran in the city of Isfahan, just go to our homepage here, and under newscast, you will find it, January 30th. That was the January 30th newscast. Hey, while you're there, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell. Give us a like, and you will get updates every time a new video is posted. Quick programming note, too. Tomorrow, February 1st, we will have a Watchman Newscast live stream right here on the channel between 4 and 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Join us for a solid hour live and bring your questions for our Q&A session. It's going to be good. And one of the things we'll be breaking down, undoubtedly, is the continued unraveling of relations between Russia and Israel. As I mentioned at the top, that's what we really want to focus on today. Worth mentioning, of course, when top U.S. officials are in Israel. But what about Russia's response to these reported Israeli strikes over the weekend? Let's preface this by saying something we've been reporting on the newscast now for months. Russia and Iran are just coming closer to closer, seemingly on a daily basis. Cooperation really across all areas, economic, military, trade, that relationship is deepening. Both are considered now essentially pariah states, folks, and they need each other increasingly. So you will see Russia and Iran, I believe, cleave closer together in the days to come. Obviously, there are prophetic implications for that as well. Before we wrap up today, we'll delve into that too. But we have Iran supplying at least 2,000 attack drones to Russia that it's used on the battlefields of Ukraine. We have Iran also preparing, reportedly, to send ballistic missiles to the Russian military as well. So I've been saying here in the newscast, okay, Iran's not doing this out of the goodness of its heart, the Iranian regime. There's got to be a quid pro quo here, right? What does Iran get in return for all of this military assistance it's giving to Russia, also just defending Russia in international forums? Iran's got to be asking for something in return. Now, at the top of the list would be nuclear know-how and nuclear technology. Would Russia actually help Iran with its nuclear weapons program? Number 2, you have to think that the Iranian regime has asked Russia not only to condemn Israeli activity against Iran in places like Syria, but in Syria in particular, folks, you have to think that Iran is imploring Russia to put a stop to all Israeli activity in Syria. Remember, Russia has thousands of troops in Syria at Israel's doorstep right now, but it has stood aside as Israel has conducted out hundreds, if not close to 1,000, strikes of all kinds, mostly airstrikes, against Iranian and Hezbollah assets inside Syria under the noses of Russian troops who are aligned with Iran and Hezbollah in Syria. Russia has stood back. Israel has called it the deconfliction mechanism that it has with Russia. It was established under Benjamin Netanyahu in his last go-round as prime minister between 2009 and 2021. It still exists, where Russia, again, has looked the other way. Israel has had freedom of movement in Syria to strike at Iran consistently and very, very effectively. They've really made a dent in Iran's military and terror infrastructure in Syria. Now that Iran is giving Russia so much help in Ukraine, will that change, that deconfliction mechanism, that so-called status quo in Syria? Russia released a statement about those Israeli strikes, reported Israeli strikes, against Iran over the weekend. In particular, this Russian Foreign Ministry statement addressed that drone strike against a weapons depot inside Iran in Isfahan. Folks, I'm going to read it right from my phone. I do not want to misquote what the Russian Foreign Ministry said. It's quite stunning. The Russian Foreign Ministry said on Monday, and I quote, "We strongly condemn any provocative efforts that have the potential to provoke an uncontrolled escalation of tensions in a region that's far from being peaceful as it is. Such destructive actions could have unpredictable consequences for peace and stability in the Middle East. That has to be understood by the organizers of the brazen raid, their backers, and those who are gloating over the issue, holding on to the futile hope for the weakening of Iran." Folks, again, that is a direct statement from Russia's foreign ministry addressing that Israeli drone strike against Iranian weapons facilities inside Iran. A few things here. Number one, just to unpack that before we go, basically jeopardizing peace and stability, not only in the Middle East and the world. Russia right now is conducting an all-out war in Ukraine. It invaded Ukraine back in February 2022. What did that do for peace and stability? And when we're talking about the Middle East, Russian soldiers, as I mentioned a minute ago, they entered Syria in September 2015 and proceeded to indiscriminately bomb Syrian civilians and smash Syrian cities. What did that do for peace and stability? Now, the Putin defenders will say, well, look, he pacified Syria. And who were the big winners in that pacification? The Iranian regime and Hezbollah and Russia itself, of course, which is in Syria to stay. They're not going anywhere. Lastly, talking about the organizers of the raid and their backers, clearly a veiled reference to Israel, the organizers of the raid, and their backers, he must be referring to the United States, especially with Blinken in the country right now. Burns, the CIA director, was there as well. But the thing that really caught my attention was the last sentence, folks. Take a look at that again. The futile hope of weakening Iran? That sounds like a statement out of the office of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei. Folks, this is deepening on every level. Israel and the United States have not responded to this Russian statement. But as I close, prophetic implications all over the place. If you watch a newscast on a regular basis, you know that I believe Russia eventually, I've called it the Great Betrayal, will come against Israel, aligned with Iran and Turkey and others, as laid out in the book of Ezekiel, chapters 38 and 39. Ezekiel calls it the War of Gog and Magog. Funny name, I know, but very important for you to know. And I believe we see the chess pieces moving on the board. It's shaping up right now. Never have Russia, Iran, and Turkey had such a close relationship and such synergy in their worldview, their anti-Western worldview, as they do now, right now, at this moment in history. And oh, by the way, Russia, Turkey, Iran, they're all inside Syria right now. Their forces on Israel's doorstep. Yet, the book of Ezekiel says they will perish on the mountains of Israel, this latter days invasion force that comes against God's land. Fasten your seatbelts, folks. I'm glad you're with us on a daily basis here in the newscast as we unpack all of these momentous events developing in the world's most chaotic and volatile region and explaining why it matters to you no matter where you live. Hey, reminder, tomorrow live stream here on the channel between 4 and 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Join us, bring your questions. It will be good. Keep all of this in prayer because God sits on the throne. Until tomorrow in that live stream, God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. If you enjoyed this episode and want to see more, make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, click subscribe, and tap the bell icon to turn on notifications for new Watchman Newscast episodes every weekday.